Hey BAU besties, I'm Shell and welcome to the show. I'm starting a series where I deep dive into each main character of Criminal Minds. I'm going to really see what makes them tick, and I've tossed in some villains for fun. Criminal Minds is one of my favorite shows of all time. It really does have everything: drama, some love tossed in, incredible loss, such amazing joy, my favorite, murder and mayhem, and genuine tears when I've watched this show. Episode 100. Am I right? Thanks for taking this journey with me. Let's get into it. Criminal Minds, created by Jeff Davis, premiered on CBS in 2005. It follows the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, commonly called the BAU. The series centers on profilers who investigate violent serial crimes by studying offender behavior, victimology, patterns, and behavioral triggers, with the goal of anticipating an unsub's next move before more people are harmed. The original run aired for 15 seasons, ending in 2020. It was later revived at Paramount Plus as Criminal Minds Evolution, which shifts the franchise into a more long-form structure while keeping the focus on profiling, teamwork, and the mental toll of confronting extreme violence. Criminal Minds plays like a mix of procedural mystery and character drama. Each case gives the BAU a puzzle to solve, but the show's pull comes from watching how the team reads behavior, connects scattered clues, and race against time while carrying the weight of the work home with them. Most episodes center on a new investigation, but the show also builds longer personal arcs around grief, trauma, loyalty, burnout, and found family. That balance is what makes the BAU feel like more than a workplace. It becomes a support system for people who spend their lives facing the worst parts of human behavior. Over time, the team changes as agents join, leave, grow into new roles, and face personal consequences of the job. Evolution continues that foundation with broader investigations that unfold across multiple episodes. It updates the franchise for a connected world, where offenders can hide behind technology, secrecy, and networks, while the BAU faces new institutional pressure and more complicated ethical questions. The core BAU team is built around different kinds of expertise, leadership, and inner strength. In the early seasons, Hotch and Gideon helps define the unit's approach to profiling through his intelligence, intuition, and deep compassion for victims, even as the work clearly weighs on him. Aaron Hotchner provides a more disciplined and controlled form of leadership, setting the tone for the team through duty, focus, and a strong protective instinct, and is the character I liked so much I named my pup after him. When David Rossi returns to the BAU, he brings veteran experience, confidence, and a perspective of someone who has helped shape the field itself, eventually becoming a mentor and steady fatherly presence within the group. As the team evolves, its strength comes from how these different personalities balance one another. Emily Prentiss adds diplomatic and international experience, along with sharp understanding of secrecy, loyalty, and danger. Derek Morgan brings physical confidence, sensitivity, and strong field instincts, making him one of the team's most protective and reliable agents. Dr. Spencer Reid, with his extraordinary memory and wide-ranging knowledge, often gives the BAU the intellectual breakthrough it needs, while his kindness makes him more than just the team's genius. The emotional center is also shaped by characters whose strengths are rooted in communication, empathy, and resilience. Jennifer Dro begins as the communications liaison and has gradually grown into a profiler, using her empathy, insight, and ability to connect with victims' families as one of her greatest strengths. Penelope Garcia, the BAU's technical analyst, provides essential digital support while also bringing warmth, color, and hope to a team that often faces darkness. In later seasons, Dr. Tara Lewis, Luke Alves, and Matt Simmons expand the team's range. Tara contributes forensic insight, Luke adds tactical experience and steadiness from his fugitive task force background, and Matt brings a global investigative experience along with a calm, family-centered perspective. Several other BAU members help shape the team at different points in the series, often bringing specialized skills or personal histories that affect how they approach the work. Elle Greenaway is defined by strong instincts. Later, Alex Blake adds a more academic perspective through her expertise in linguistics, allowing the team to understand offenders through language, communication patterns, and meaning. Kate Callahan brings undercover experience and a grounded protective style, with her family life giving added depth to how she responds to cases involving children and vulnerable victims. Other figures stand out because their personal backgrounds create a direct connection to the theme of the series. Ashley Seaver enters the BAU with an unusual burden. She is the daughter of a serial killer. This gives her insight into the damage offenders leave behind while also making the work personally complicated for her. Stephen Walker contributes calm, professionalism, and steady judgment, reinforcing the BAU's need for trust and collaboration during high-pressure investigations. Beyond the agents themselves, Dr. Savannah Hayes and Will Lamontagne Jr. show the importance of life outside the unit. Savannah, through her relationship with Derek, represents the possibility of balance and love beyond the BAU, while Will, as JJ's husband and a detective, highlights the sacrifice and understanding required when family life is tied closely to dangerous work. The Evolution era introduces figures who reflect that broader style of storytelling. Elias Voigt, also known as Sicarius, becomes central to the story because his threat is organized, patient, and built across multiple episodes. Tyler Green adds another layer through his military intelligence background and personal investment in the case, creating tension because his skills and motives do not always fit neatly within the BAU's usual structure. The revival also places more emphasis on institutions surrounding the BAU. Rebecca Wilson, a Department of Justice figure connected to Tara Lewis, brings Tara's personal life into sharper focus, while Doug Bailey highlights the oversight, politics, and public accountability that shape the team's work. Together, these figures show that Evolution is not just about new offenders, it's also about how the BAU operates under modern pressure. The BAU refers to offenders as unsubs, meaning unknown subjects. The franchise's most memorable antagonists stand out because each one tests the team differently, through control, manipulation, symbolism, fear, or personal connection. Among the most infamous recurring threats is George Foyette, also known as the Boston Reaper, whose menace comes from patience, intimidation, and the way he treats law enforcement as part of his game. He studies routines, exploits fear, and turns pursuit into mental warfare, making his motivation feel rooted in power, domination, and the pleasure of making both victim and investigators feel helpless. Frank Brightcroft is similarly dangerous because of his intelligence and ability to remain detached, mobile, and difficult to predict. His storyline pushes the BAU into a more personal confrontation with a killer who understands survival, manipulation. His motivation appears tied to control, intellectual superiority, and obsessive fixation. Other antagonists stand out because their crimes are shaped by symbolism, delusion, or extreme mental damage. Randall Gardner, known as the Fisher King, draws the BAU into a maze of clues and references, forces the team to engage with a story he has built about his pain. Tobias Hinkle is one of the show's more complex offenders, shaped by trauma, religious fixation, and a fractured sense of identity. His case emphasizes the human damage behind violent behavior, while still making clear the danger he presents. Floyd Phelan Farrell is remembered as one of the series' most disturbing one-case villains, with crimes defined by ritual, fantasy, and a deep, warped need to give a symbolic meaning to compulsive violence. Another standout villain is Billy Flynn, known as the Prince of Darkness. His story is especially memorable because it stretches across a cliffhanger, with the BAU tracking him through Los Angeles during rolling blackouts as he uses darkness, fear, and survivor trauma as part of his pattern. The two-part structure gives Flynn a grim, unsettling presence and makes him feel less like a case of the weak unsub and more like a nightmare the team has to carry from one season into the next. Peter Lewis, or Mr. Scratch, continues that mental pressure in another form, using fear, suggestion, and distorted perception to attack the mind as much as the body. In Evolution, Voight brings that danger into a more modern, long-range form. Rather than functioning as a single-case unsub, he becomes a thread that stretches across the revival and forces the BAU to think beyond one crime scene at a time. At its heart, Criminal Minds has always been more than a crime procedural. The cases may drive the episodes, but the lasting impact comes from the people inside the BAU. The profilers who study darkness without letting it completely define them. Their methods, relationships, losses, strengths, and flaws are what give the series its dramatic weight and make the team feel more memorable long after the investigation ends. That is why this guide is also the beginning of a new weekly series, Profiling the Profilers. Each week, I will take a closer look at one member of the BAU, exploring who they are and what they bring to the team, how they grow, and why their story matters within the larger world of Criminal Minds. First up, Aaron Hotchner, the steady, disciplined leader whose quiet intensity, sense of duty, and protective loyalty shaped the BAU from the very beginning. Hotch is the perfect place to start because much of the team's identity is built around the standard he sets, the sacrifices he makes, and the strength he shows even when the job demands more than it should. If this deep dive was your vibe, do the YouTube things. Like, subscribe, and tell me your favorite Criminal Minds story. Until next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.